improvements, right, church? But we can't afford to let that happen. We can't afford that happen. See, one of the things in Ephesians, and this is just dropping in my spirit, in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14, it says, do not be like children. Everybody say, do not be like children. Which means the apostle is saying, you know what? There comes a time when you got to grow up. The immaturity is not an excuse. The immaturity is not an excuse for your silliness. But there comes a time when the church can't grow up without the fivefold ministry. It cannot. It is completely impossible for the church to grow up if there is no fivefold ministry. And he says, do not be like children, tossed to and fro. Everyone say tossed to and fro. Well, what does that mean? That means in and out. And not in and out burger. That's here and there. And that's up and down. Sounds like Martha a little bit. Come on. Right? So you would have to, I mean, you'd have to be a prophet to realize this, but we see the lives of many of God's people tossed to and fro. They're in and out. They're cold, then they're hot. Come on. They're committed, and then they're not. Come on. Why? Do not be tossed. Now, church, what tosses us? Storms. The storms of life happen, toss us. Church, when I have a prophetic word from God, it doesn't matter how severe the storm. It makes no difference if that storm is relational or financial or spiritual. I know because I have a word from God, because God prophesied, go to the other side. Oh, come on. Are you hearing what I'm saying? And I don't have to worry about the storm if I have a prophecy. Because actually where I need my prophecy is in the storm, because the prophecy causes me to decree when I'm standing in the boat and my boat's about to sink. I'm going to start preaching here in a moment if you don't get excited. What happens is when I'm in a storm, Meliana, what begins to happen is instead of panicking, I stand up and prophesy to my storm. I start making a declaration. But what happens is, without the prophet, without prophecy, I'm tossed to and fro. Because where's the storm that's hitting America right now? It isn't an earthquake. It isn't a tornado. It's doctrine. He says, do not be like children, tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine. So what is the apostle saying? The storm isn't coming. It isn't coming from the devil or originate, but I mean, it isn't literally, it's coming from false doctrine. Right? Are you hearing me? Because what false doctrine does, this is why I encourage everybody, don't just read the book of Ephesians, study the book of Ephesians. I've been on this long study of Ephesians. I'm every verse, every translation. I'm going to read 5 commentaries because I want an understanding of that. Because when you read Ephesians, all of a sudden, the guy that wrote it is in prison. Come on, church. Are you hearing me? And I don't ever see in Ephesians say, oh God, get me out of this chains. I don't ever see him complaining about his chains. I don't grumbling about the fact, here I am, I'm a preacher of righteousness. Is this what I get for serving you, God? I don't see anything. What I see him is writing is, I'm seated in heavenly places with Christ Jesus. Now, can you imagine being a Roman guard and you're walking in to check up on Paul and he starts speaking, I'm seated in heavenly places. Oh, get a reality check. Oh, church, you know why? Because it's not a geographical location. It's a spiritual reality on the inside that despite what anybody sees, I'm seated with Christ. Oh, Jesus. That's why I love when Meliana says that God will strengthen us in the inner mind with might. Oh, come on, church. I don't want to be strengthened by my change. I can't be strengthened by my storm. That's why I love prophecy. What prophecy does is it strengthens my inner man.
That's exactly what it does.
In church, the wind of doctrine. So in the book of Ephesians, we talk about the armor of God. We talk about the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit, the breastplate of righteousness, our feet shod with the preparation of the gospel, the shield of faith. But I believe that everything that God does is intentional and purposeful.
Yes.
Did you notice that the first piece of armor He told us to put on wasn't the sword of the Spirit? Wasn't the helmet of salvation? It was the belt of truth. Because see, truth holds everything up. Without truth, my breastplate falls off. Without truth, my helmet falls down. Without truth, I can't hold up my shield. Without truth, I can't wave my sword. Without truth, I can't keep my shoes on. Are you hearing what I'm saying? It's the wind of doctrine. And see, unless there is a prophetic anointing, then people will believe anything. They'll believe anything. They'll try to redefine marriage. Come on. They'll try to redefine what they think based on how they feel. Come on, church. And so truth is getting redefined in our generation, church. That's why we need some people like up in here. That's why we need these kinds of things to happen in southern Utah. So we can have a revival of the nation. Because the revival that's coming is a revival of truth.
Yes.
David prayed that I have truth in my inward parts.
Yes.
Because without truth, the promises of God, I can quote them all day, but without truth, I will not be able to hold or sustain it. Now listen. So, an uninformed person is someone who actually has been swayed by whatever life brings to the table. But notice what the Apostle Paul says. He says these words. But when an unbeliever or an uninformed person comes in, he is convinced. Everybody say convinced.
Yes.
This is why I loved the prophetic ministry, because it convinced me of truth. Because if I'm not convinced, come on, church. If I'm not convinced that this is real, are you hearing me? Then whoever I'm listening to is going to define my reality. If I'm not convinced that God is real, come on. Then what happens is when somebody introduces an idea or a thought, oh, grab that thing. That's the thing that's going to satisfy me. And so what he's saying is, when there's a prophetic anointing behind the pulpit, people are convinced God's here. Now notice this. He says, by convinced by all, he is convicted by all. Now, conviction is not a popular word. Conviction makes the uninformed uncomfortable.